I was trying to put into words what it is exactly that makes it take so long for when we work on our own stuff. Why is it that we can go to revision number 85, but on other people's stuff, things tend to come together much more easily? And then it occurred to me, the biggest reason, in my opinion, is that we can redo every step of the process when it's our own stuff, right up until the minute we call it done and hit post or submit it for distribution. Right up until that moment, we could decide something's not good enough and I want to redo it. Whereas on other people's stuff, we're way less likely to take the reins like that and be like, listen, this thing isn't good enough. It needs to change. We're way more likely to just do our best to make it work because we know in order to invest enough time to make something change, first of all, they got to want to do it. The artist has got to be okay with it. And if they are, it's still a risk that they're going to like what you did. And beyond that, it's still a risk that at the end of this thing, like, are they going to pay you for it, or are you just taking your own time to do it because you really believe in it and you think it needs it? Well, then they're probably not going to pay you extra for it. It's not going to be part of it. You know, when it's my idea to add something that I think something really needs because it would make it so much better, that's not the time to charge people for it because you feel like there's this one thing holding it back. Whatever it is, you can add it. You want to add it. So as a result, I'm not going to charge. Whereas if it's something like they want me to build a song around their song, that's different. That's like you're hiring somebody to do a job. Whereas the other way, it's like, I would really like to do this thing if you, the artist, would let me do it. As a result, I'm not charging. So when you think about it, it's like, what's holding this thing back from being good? And the thing is, with our own stuff, we are hypercritical. We are always super aware of all of the faults within it. Whereas when you're working on other people's stuff, you may not know all the story around how it was recorded or what compromises were made or what was done quickly or what was like what you didn't know when it was recorded. All that stuff you don't know, all the mystery allows you to treat it like it's something amazing that was thought out. Like you always assume the most. At least that's what I do. I assume the artist took the time to really craft this thing, so I don't try to overthink it. What they give me, I try to give back in as good a shape as I can deliver it back in a mix, or if I'm mastering, well, I'm, in a master, whatever it is that I'm doing. So the goal for me when I'm working on my own stuff, this is how you get out of this thought process that something should be changed, because if you let yourself, you will critique every little thing you did and always want to redo it. And what this does, in my opinion, is it takes the blame. It takes you from focusing on what's important. What's important, if you're trying to be a better mix engineer, is learning how to mix stuff that wasn't recorded that well. Like, that's the goal. Because anyone has an easier time mixing the better something was recorded. That's why it doesn't even pay to say that when people talk about why, top mixers can deliver such great mixes. You'll always find comment folks that will say in the comments, it's because the stuff is recorded so well that they have such a piece of cake time mixing it. It's not even worth mentioning that. Because in order for them to get in the position that they're in to work on that stuff, how many things do you think they worked on that weren't good? And if you think the answer is very few, you are so far misguided. You get good from working on tons of things and messing them up and not doing your best work and reflecting on it later. Thomas Edison tried 1,000 times or something before he got it right for the light bulb. How many times do you think a mixer who's really great has tried and failed at what they were doing in order to achieve something that came together in a way that they can then repeat the process? It's very hard to do. Like anything in life that's hard to do, the reward is very great once you achieve it. But during that time, it's not, it's fun to do the work, but it's not fun to be upset at the results. And that's what you go through. we go through this thing where we work hard on something, we listen to it later, and we're like upset at the results because we know we could do better, and we hear the difference that like what should be changed and and then as soon as we try to do it, maybe we don't achieve that. So this is the battle within our heads, and in my opinion, that kind of a battle, I think that happens forever, no matter what level you're at. Like, I don't see that battle ever going away. What I do see is you being able to predict a result a little bit better the more you do it. I could see over enough time, you'll be able to predict what the end result's going to be. So you'll be less surprised by it, which in turn leads to less like depression or sadness or whatever's connected to you feeling like you didn't achieve what you wanted in the mix. Or, and I really put the emphasis here on mixing because there's certain parts of what we do that are very creative, and then it's up to somebody else to sort of put that all into place. That's why when I think of, the traditional definition of the word producer, it's a very like enviable job. Maybe envy is not the right word, but it's a very cool job because it's so creative, focused, and there's technical aspects of it, but there are so many guys or a lot of guys that produce and also have an engineer who does that part for them so they can just focus on producing, which allows them to get better results from that part of the process, the producing part. So whether you do all those jobs or not, they're different jobs mentally. Like one is very technical from an engineering standpoint, and one is very creative and very big picture from a production standpoint. And it's the job of a producer not to agree with every suggestion and every idea an artist has. That's the worst type of person that's ever a producer. The producer's main job is to notice what's going wrong. What's wrong with what is happening here? And as a result of what's wrong, what can be done instead or as an alternative or another thought process that could make this right or make it connect the way the artist wants? Like, what is the missing link here, if there is one? And make sure to achieve that by going about it in the right way where the artist doesn't shut down as soon as you suggest an idea. So it's such a delicate balancing act to be a producer. And it's also, a producer is like a therapist for the artist and like a facilitator of their work and their idea, right? And then you get the very technical side of what, like after the producer's done, if they did their job really well, the mixer has something to work with that's very easy to work with. And when I say easy, there's no easy, I would say, but the better it was produced and engineered and recorded, the less a mixer has to fight with it is really the thing. Because it'll just pull up the faders and it already sort of sounds good. And that's the thing you hear, the common thread on the old school records when people who were recording came to the table with knowledge of arrangement, of not letting things layer over each other, just so that there's removing the mud from the recording process so that there's less mud to deal with in the mixing process. When you think about mixing, you're layering sounds, you're deciding how much of what occupies what, but things overlap. Nothing is clearly cut, defined. And this is no matter what the recording, it's always that way. It's just the better it was recorded and arranged and written, the easier it will be to figure out, the more leeway you'll have for what should be where in a balance, the more everything will sort of just work when you pull up the faders. So the way I think about this, right, is no matter what part you're doing, if you're doing all the parts, you have to, and this is, in my opinion, the best move, you can't allow yourself to re-record things, because if you do, you're learning a different skill. Like, you're not getting better at mixing. You're getting better at that part, at being a recording engineer, which may be something you want to get better at. But if you're trying to get better at mixing, don't allow yourself to re-record it, because it wouldn't be a luxury you would have if you were working on stuff for other people. So if you want to, play ball like that, what I would do is make the thing that you have recorded as good as you can, because you'll learn so much doing that, because you'll be trying to make something sound good that probably doesn't, that wasn't recorded as well as you could have recorded it, that has issues inherent in the gear you used and the mics you used and the knowledge you didn't have. That's what I find when I work on old recordings of my own. I think to myself, man, I wouldn't have done this that way, this that way. Like, I have a list of everything I would change. It would be easier to put that together if I just started from scratch and recorded it again. But I wouldn't be essentially working out my muscles, my mixing muscles. I wouldn't be working them as hard. And as a result, I wouldn't get the benefit of learning all the things I would need to learn to make something that might not sound that great sound great. So there's a skill that you develop from working on stuff that doesn't sound good. And I'm telling you, all these major guys, they had to go through a large portion of time where stuff they got wasn't the best stuff that you think they always get. They had plenty of stuff that wasn't that way along the road to get where they're at. So don't look at it like everything you have is always going to be recorded well, and you're always going to have the ability to tell people to re-record stuff. You won't. So treat your own stuff that way. Get the workout in by mixing it, and then also, if you want to re-record it later to get better at that other part, you could do that too. Like, there's nothing stopping you. But if you were to just jump to that, you might get done mixing it quicker, but you won't have learned all the stuff you will learn from working on the stuff that doesn't sound good. So that's my favorite part about, like, digging up old recordings I have on songs that, like, I remember exactly. It's like it'll all come back to you, what it was you used, all the problems with the room, the mics, the interface, the recording console, like which channels were dead, why is this thing buzzing all the time, what were the tubes broken on the amp, what is that squeal? And just every step of this process, you'll be learning, this is how I get rid of the squeal. This is how I deal with it when, I have only one mic was working and the rest of them weren't on this particular thing. This is how I create extra, if I needed overhead mics, well, there was a vocal mic pointed the other direction. That'll be my room mic in this particular case, because every other thing, there was no real room mics on the drums. Like, everything you can come up with. The guitar's slightly out of tune, and we got to use it, and it's that every tuning software thing isn't working, so let's just put some chorus on it and try to see if that softens the blow a little bit. You just come up with every idea you can to try to make something work, and in the end, you now have a better skill set because you fought with stuff that makes you better. Bottom line, it's swinging 2 or 3 bats, and then you drop everything, and now you got one. As soon as you get something good, that's how it will feel. That, like, now it's super easy, it's super fun. Whereas it's only fun because it was harder for you at one point. So don't look at it like it's a problem. It's not a problem. Like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And hit the notification bell. You know the drill. Talk to you soon. Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You guys got this. Take it easy.